Ohio State. 9.5-point underdog. That's a massive upset in playoff football.
Now, in case you didn't notice the bug on the top right of your screen there, that was back on December 20th, long before the Hurricanes beat Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, even before Miami upset Texas A&M. Talk your talk, B-Mac. Two-time Super Bowl champion Bryant McFadden joins me now as Miami is set to face Ole Miss in Thursday's Fiesta Bowl. B-Mac, how you feeling about this prediction now, my friend?
I hate being right because I'm a Florida State Seminole. We don't like anything Miami related. We don't like anything Florida Gator related. But I had to be honest. I felt like their style of play would be an issue for a Big Ten powerhouse in the Ohio State Buckeyes, and I was right. And like I said, Madeline, sometimes you don't want to be right. You know, you say certain things in your mind, you're like, man, I hope I'm all the way wrong. But I was all the way right. You know, the game of football is the game of football. It's played one simple way, hard and tough, and that's how Miami play football.
Listen, it's a gift and a curse to have such a deep knowledge of ball. But you know what, B-Mac, you are blessed with it. There's some familiarity here in this matchup, though, for Miami's quarterback. Carson Beck, he was the Georgia quarterback for 2 seasons when he faced Ole Miss in 2023 and 2024. Miami head coach Mario Cristobal, he's been impressed with what he's seen from Beck leading the Canes to their first college football playoff semifinal appearance. Let's take a listen.
Well, he's on point. You know, I mean, schematically, he knows exactly where to go with the ball, where not to go with it. He's put us in great protections in the run game. He has put us in advantage runs. He knows where he's not protected. And he secured the football. Ball security has been fantastic for the most part. So, I mean, that's such a big part of like what we do, right? We've been efficient when we've been good, I should say. We've been efficient on offense, and it all starts with the quarterback.
Now, B-Mac, this is a big game for Beck. He knows what it's like to play on the big stage. What are you expecting to see from him and this Miami offense in the Fiesta Bowl?
Just efficient play from Carson Beck because of the experience he has at his disposal. He's been a part of a lot of major big-time games in college football. And to Coach Cristobal's point, you can tell that experience is flourishing and helping him manage the system rather nicely. Now, but when you look at Carson Beck in the first 2 playoff games, the volume wasn't needed because of how well they ran the football and how well they played on the defensive end. So he's been doing just the bare necessity, giving them the bare necessity because you don't need a lot from him. But the one thing I do like from Carson Beck, you know, he's not throwing the football at a high volume in terms of yards, but the accuracy. In both games, he's completed around 70% of his passes. So when he has thrown the football, he is completing those footballs to his pass catchers. So that's all you would like to see from your quarterback. Do what you need to do because so far the running game has been outstanding. The run defense has been outstanding. So as long as you make the routine plays happen routinely, Carson Beck, and protect the football, everything else will work itself out. And that's what we've seen so far in the first 2 games in the playoffs for Miami.
Now, on the other side of this matchup, the Ole Miss offense, they have been on fire lately, led by a quarterback, Trinidad Chambliss, who in his first season since transferring from D2 Ferris State has exploded for over 3,600 passing yards, 21 touchdowns in 2025. The Rebels, they can put points on the board. What are you expecting from Chambliss?
Man, listen, Madeline, Trinidad has been the best playmaker in the college football playoffs, and he plays the quarterback position. So right now, he is the best playmaker Miami will have seen. And that's saying a lot when you look at Marcel Reed in the first game, and they played Marcel Reed there at A&M. But Trinidad is a different quarterback. The ability to evade defenders, make things happen. He can become a +1 in the running game. The accuracy, the arm strength, the way he sees the football field. Remember, he's been around college football for quite some time. You know, he won a championship last year at his previous destination. So for me, it's about Trinidad being Trinidad, right? Extending plays, because he will have to extend plays when you look at the guys who will be hunting him. And throwing your wide receivers open. The coverage standpoint from Miami has been really, really good. So you will have to throw your wide receivers open. But just be a playmaker, man. In 2 games, you saw what he did against Tulane, almost 300 yards. You saw what he did against UGA, against one of the more tougher defensive units, almost 400 yards through the air. So that's who Trinidad will need to be. You cannot be a pedestrian-like quarterback, Trinidad. No. You got to be a superstar
Got
tomorrow night against Miami.
All right, let's see it. The superstar, big name, big lights, all that kind of stuff. Expecting a lot of points on the board in this one, but how does Ole Miss get the win over Miami in the Fiesta Bowl?
Ole Miss, Madeline, this is going back to old school football. They got to win the ball game in the trenches on both sides of the football field. When you look at Miami play, Madeline, let's highlight their defense. Their two defensive ends, Mesidor and Bain, they're first-round type players, in my opinion. And they can take over a ball game. So if you allow them to take over a ball game, your playmaker in Trinidad Chambliss, he won't be able to do what he's done, right? He won't be able to run around and evade defenders. And then Kawan Lacey won't be able to run the football. So they got to find a way to get things going with their offensive linemen. And then transitioning to their defensive line, you cannot allow Miami to bully you. That's what Miami has done in the first two ball games, bullying. Okay, let's go back to A&M game, right, Madeline? Against A&M, Miami ran the ball for 176 yards. They averaged 6.3 yards per average. So basically 2 runs with a first down. They bullied A&M. Then you look at what they did against Ohio State. They ran the ball for 153 yards on the ground. They averaged 4.1 yards per tote. They bullied the Big Ten foe in the Ohio State Buckeyes. Their offensive line. Now their defensive line, look at what they did against A&M. A&M as a team, they ran the ball for 89 yards. They averaged 2.5 yards per carry. Then when you look at what Miami did against the rushing attack for Ohio State had 45 yards on the ground. They averaged 1.9 yards in average, not even 2 yards per carry. So that's what Ole Miss has to do. They can't allow the big boys for Miami, offensively and defensively, just to bully them and dominate at the line of scrimmage. Because if they do, the same outcome that we saw with A&M and Ohio State will be Ole Miss outcome as well.
Ole Miss has to stand up to the bully in this one. Miami, meanwhile, 1 win away from playing for the national championship at their home stadium. B-Mac, how do the Hurricanes get the Fiesta Bowl win?
Well, they cannot allow splash plays from Ole Miss, especially on the offensive end. And what I mean when I say a splash play, Madeline, anything of 25 yards or more is considered a splash play, right? So if you look at Ole Miss game against Tulane, they had 5 plays that totaled 25 yards or more, right? They had a rush of 30. They had a reception of 26, 30, 25, and 35. Those are splash plays. They live on those opportunities and converting those said opportunities. Then you look at what they did most recently against Georgia. Now they had 2 splash plays, a 44-yard reception and a 40-yard reception. But if you look at what their wide receivers, their pass catchers as a whole, what they averaged per pass catch, it was almost 12 yards. So even though they didn't have the number of splash plays they had against Tulane, but when you look at what they did against Georgia, every time their pass catchers caught a pass, it was basically converting a first down. If you're Miami, you got to keep the roof on the house, because what they do is with that tempo offensively for Ole Miss, when they get these big plays going, they go faster. They try to keep you on your heels and have you standing on some eggshells where you can't move and you're afraid to move. That's how they handle business on the offensive end. So for Miami, you got to make them, if they drive, they got to drive the length of the football field, doing it the hard way, because they love to do it the easy way, and they've been super efficient in doing so because of their offensive style and the playmakers they have surrounding their quarterback, not just in the passing game, but also in the running game as well.
All right, so we got the keys to the game for each of these teams here, but Fiesta Bowl, Miami, Ole Miss, who's your pick to win?
You're doing this to me again, Madeline.
Mm-hmm. Putting you on spot.
Doing this again.
Knower of ball. You got to bless us with the knowledge.
Yeah, my pick is Miami. My pick is Miami. Their style of play will travel. Doesn't matter where they go, who they playing against. Their style of play will travel because they have big guys that move like little guys. They have offensive linemen that are bullies. They have offensive linemen that want to get after you. And most teams, they don't have the dudes to stand that for 4 quarters. And oddly enough, for Ole Miss, they don't play with a lot of depth on their defensive line. And offensively, I think Miami's they're going to run the football against Ole Miss. And I think they're going to make things difficult for Trinidad Chambliss, because the guys he faced in that UGA game, collectively, they're really, really good stout unit. But individually speaking, Miami has more talent than the front 7 he saw in that UGA game. Miami has a better defensive line unit than the front four or the front three or front five that he saw in that UGA game. Miami has higher round NFL prospects. Those prospects play to their billing. They live up and they've earned that NIL money, whatever it is they're getting, and they're coached the right way. I think that's going to be a tall task for Ole Miss to handle for 4 quarters, and I'm picking Miami.
We'll see how it unfolds January 8th, the Fiesta Bowl, Ole Miss, Miami. B-Mac, thanks for the insight. Let's take a look at the playoff bracket. B-Mac has Miami going to the Natty. They'll have to beat Ole Miss first. And they'll take on the winner of Indiana or